weeks ago, I asked some Christians who were business owners, what is something that you struggle with the most because of your ADHD? And something that comes up a lot is decision making. And that's something I really do understand a lot, being someone who is a Christian, who has ADHD, and is a business owner. So in this video, we're going to discuss how we can break free from that analysis paralysis, that decision making, all of that in our brain, and be able to effectively better manage our businesses and effectively better manage the ministries that God has called us to. And if you're new here, what's up? My name's Christian. I make content about mental health, all from a biblical perspective, so that we can all heal, grow, and make an impact on the world as Christ intended. So honestly, I'm going to treat this video like you are someone who's walking through the ADHD Mastery mentorship with me, right? So before we get into strategies, tips, tactics, all of that, I understand if you want to get there, hold on, be patient. The first thing, the most important thing that we need to understand is your beliefs around decisions. And so when I'm working with someone, I really like to before giving them any strategies, I really like to understand their mind behind the things that they're actually struggling with, right? So for example, if you are someone who struggles, if you feel like your decisions that you make are inherently bad or inherently wrong, that's a belief that needs to be altered in order for you to even be able to better make decisions. You have to be able to trust yourself in order to make decisions. And honestly, something with all my clients, something I really do recommend is for them to take a visit in their past and in their childhood. Because for a lot of us, especially with ADHD, we've been corrected a lot. We didn't understand why we've been corrected. We didn't understand our own minds to be able to change and correct ourselves. We just started masking and trying to fit a mold that doesn't work for our brains, and that leads to burnout and exhaustion and and executive function dysfunction becoming even worse than it already is, right? So we need to take a step back and understand what leads you to what led you to the beliefs that you currently have about decision making. Do you trust yourself to make decisions? Do you believe you have the competence and the wisdom from God to be able to make the decisions that you need to make? And this is so incredibly important when it comes to ministry, when it comes to business, because if we are not able to make decisions when we have to make them, then we become idle. If we become idle with the things that God is calling us to, we're not doing what God has called us to. And I'm not gonna lie, this is something that may take some work for you to do, some deep work for you to do with the Lord, right? But a principle I really want you to keep in mind for this, at least for now for this video, is understand that your decisions aren't just that. God took your foolishness into account. Like when God called us to ministry, when God called us to business, when God called us to leadership, whatever it is, God took into account our foolishness and our own weaknesses. And understand that even if you make a decision and you try you make a decision, it's not the best decision, God can still work it out for good. In Romans 8:28, it says, and we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purpose. So we know that. So when we make a decision, right, we can have full trust in that decision making because we know that God is sovereign over it. And honestly, I think something that we need to start to see decision making as being as like God doesn't see us as just as these incompetent fools that are incapable of doing things. If God calls us to do something, he tends to be intimately involved with the process, but also he knows what he put in each and every one of us. He knows our capabilities, he knows our strengths, he understands our weaknesses, right? So you can really see this as an opportunity to grow in your trust with the Lord, with being like, you know what, Lord, I don't know if this is the right decision 100%. I've prayed on it, I meditated on it, I'm using all my sound wisdom, I seeked out counsel, I'm still not 100% sure. I'm going to make this decision with the knowledge I have and the best of my ability. I'm going to trust your sovereignty in it, right? And then that's also a moment of understanding how God trusts you with certain things, right? God trusts you with certain responsibilities. God trusts you with that ministry. God trusts you with that business. God trusted you with that leadership position at your job, right? So once you approach it from this perspective, then that weight starts to lift up off of you. Understanding that, okay, God is ultimately sovereign. All right, cool. Now we're going to get down to the actual strategies. This one's really simple, honestly. It's like incredibly simple. First, you need to limit down, like cut it down. Just chop. Because like I don't know. This is what when actually I got the idea of this video when I was on Canva, and I was looking at different templates I wanted to use, and I was looking like I was scrolling and scrolling, and I'm like, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of templates that I can choose from. And I was like, that wasn't the one I wanted. This is the one. But I was like, okay, this is like ridiculous at this point. I'm scrolling for 15 minutes now, and I still didn't make a decision on what I want to use, right? So then I did is I took, okay, I'm gonna pick 3 that I like. Just 3 templates. I'm not gonna give myself room for any more. Only 3. It's like, okay, if I only had 3 slots, these are the 3 I'm picking. All right, cool. Now drop one of those and pick 2. This is cool because then when you start limiting you start decreasing your options, then you're able to make better decisions because your mind is not constantly oscillating between which thing you should be choosing. And honestly, this same principle can be applied when knowing where to start with something, right? Say if you begin your work day, you begin like whatever the thing is, right? And you're like, there's a lot to do. I don't know where to start. So like, and with ADHD, that's something we should naturally struggle with prioritization and knowing where to put each thing, right? But something that can really help you is to really just pick the 3 things, just 3 things, right? And then out of those 3, which one is the most important? If you're struggling with that, okay, drop it down to 2 things. Which one do you want to do? Which one is the most pressing? Think about time, right? Which one has a time limit that's attached to it? Like the most immediate time limit attached to it, right? So then when you start doing this, you're slowly starting to train your brain to go through these questions subconsciously before you make a decision. So you're training your brain to have better prioritization and then therefore better decision making, and that helps break you out of that analysis paralysis. Because the reason a lot of us have analysis paralysis is because there's too many options. We live in an era and a generation where we have so many options of different things, whether it be phones, whether it be information, whether it be schools, whatever it is, churches, right? There's so many options, and then we get stuck with that, right? So if we start to limit what's available, then we make a decision from there that makes it 10 times easier to actually make a decision and then therefore execute, which is actually the next point. Choose, commit, and trust. Like I said earlier, God took our foolishness, our stupidity into account when he called us to do whatever he called us to do, right? Whether it be ministry, leadership, business, whatever the thing is, right? So with that in mind, once you make a decision, stick with that decision. You can't keep going back and forth, being like, I don't know, maybe this one, maybe that one, right? If you do that, then you're not going to end up reaping. You're not going to end up reaping anything. And actually, this made me think of a verse in Ecclesiastes chapter 11. In verses 1-6, it says, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth. If a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the way the Spirit comes to the bones in the womb of a woman with child, so you do not know the work of God who makes everything. In the morning sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good. Here God is telling us, you don't know things, and that's okay, right? And not knowing is where our trust in the Lord, right? Our confidence in the Lord and our dependence on the Lord is where it really grows. And trust me, as someone who is a control freak by nature, this is challenging, right? But it's something that we're still called to do. That we can't possibly know everything. And accepting that we can't possibly know everything, and then so with that in mind, and then that helps us to commit, right? And then to actually stick with the decision that we've made, and to trust in God's sovereignty, to trust in the Lord's goodness and his faithfulness, and the fact that he's not going to lead us into failing in something that he called us to do. So as a quick recap, remember to address your beliefs surrounding decisions, limit your options to 3, then 2, then pick 1, and then to choose, commit, and trust. If you're a business owner, a leader in ministry, someone who is a leader at your job, right, and you have ADHD, and you feel like the ADHD is really holding you back from fully executing with what God has called you to do, what God has entrusted you with, I want to invite you to join the ADHD Mastery Mentorship, where we're going to be working one-on-one to overcoming the challenges that your challenges with ADHD, so that you can succeed in that area of your life. If you're interested in receiving that kind kind of one-on-one mentorship where you can pick my brain with whatever, you can apply for that down below in the description. If this video was a blessing to you, be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. It really, really, really does help the channel. And remember, above all that, you got this because God's got you. Peace out.